Hey future doctors, welcome to Dentistionary. Here you will be provided with information for the doctors from the doctors. Today we are back with the subject dental histology with the chapter Maxillary Sinus. In this chapter there are some important topics that are very important on the exam point of view. There are microscopic features of maxillary sinus, its functions, and the goblet cells. So let's start. What is maxillary sinus? The maxillary sinus is the pneumatic space that is lodged inside the body of the maxilla and communicates with the environment by way of the middle nasal meatus and the nasal vestibule. The maxillary sinus lightens the weight of the bone or the maxilla, so it makes a head lighter. It helps in different areas that we will study along with the slides. The maxillary sinus, also known as the antrum of Highmore. There are different names for the maxillary sinus and they can be asked with the different name. Okay, so you should be prepared. It's the largest among the paranasal air sinuses. Okay, the largest air sinus, maxillary sinus. The sinus is entirely lined by mucosa that in the most places is firmly bound to the underlying bone. In this case, the bone is maxilla with little or no submucosa. Okay. Now the histology part, it is very important. The sinus lining is made up of the thin epithelium of pseudostratified ciliated columnar type. Okay, and the lamina propria. Okay, they help to propel mucus. It helps in propulsion of the mucus, the lamina propria calia. It helps in the propulsion of mucus, microorganisms, debris from the surface of the sinus lining towards the nasal cavity through their wave-like beating. So these pseudostratified ciliated columnar types, the ciliates move the mucus, the microorganism, and the debris out of the nose. Okay, it removes them from the maxillary sinus towards the nasal cavity, and from that place it gets excreted from a nasal cavity, so it doesn't cause infections or allergies and all. As you have experienced the common cold. Okay, in addition to columnar and ciliated cells, the epithelium also contains columnar non-ciliated cells, basal type cells, and goblet cells. Goblet cells are the important ones. The lamina propria is made up of connective tissue cells and fibers along with the blood vessels. Subepithelial glands of serous or mucus type are noticed in the lamina propria. These glands pour the secretions on the surface of the sinus lining through ducts. Okay, here different types of ducts. This is the histology part, the H&E diagram, which is seen under the microscope. These are the ciliated pseudostratified columnar epithelium, and this is the lamina propria. In here, you will see the goblet cells. You will see it in the next slide. The goblet cells, these are simple unicellular intraepithelial glands that are interspersed among the other cells of the sinus epithelium. These are called so because of their unique shape with a wide apical region and a narrow stalk-like basal region resembling a wine glass. This line is very important to define the goblet cells, how their structure is. Okay, these cells secrete mucin, which first accumulates in the apical region of the cell, resulting in their destination and widening before being discharged through the exocytosis. The slender basal region rests on the basement membrane and contains nucleus and other organelles. So this is the structure, this is the function. Okay, this line is the function, this is the structure, this is the structure, and this is the general intro. These are the goblet cells. See how it looks like the glass, wine glass appearance, the pseudostratified columnar epithelium, which is ciliated. capillaries, serous gland, and the mucus gland. And here is the lamina propria. Structural and topographic relations. Megasan is roughly pyramidal in shape, okay, of a pyramid toward the nasal cavity and the apex toward the body of zygomatic bone. So the apex is towards the zygomatic bone and the base is towards the nasal cavity. Okay. Anteriorly to the body, superiorly to the orbital surface, and posteriorly to the infratemporal surface, and inferiorly to the alveolar process. So what does it mean? It is anteriorly to the body of the maxilla. Okay, superiorly to the orbital surface of the molars, posteriorly to the infratemporal surface, the infratemporal bone and the infratemporal space. It is posterior to that. Okay, and inferior to the alveolar process. So it is inferior down towards the alveolar process. Sinus opens into the middle meatus of the nose. Expansion of sinus called recesses extends to the alveolar, zygomatic, and frontal process of the maxilla. These are all the structures and the relations. Roots of the permanent maxillary first molar or premolars found very close to the sinus. Only a thin plate of bone often separates them. Sometimes they extend into the maxillary sinus, which creates a problem. Functions of maxillary sinus: humidification and warming of inspired air, so it protects internal structure like the eyeball and the brain from cold air. So whenever you feel cold, you feel heavy in your sinus part or the max just above the maxilla because it thickens to keep the air warm. That's why you feel an ache above the maxilla. Being an air cavity within a bone, it reduces the weight of the skull. It increases faciocranial resistance to mechanical shock. So it also acts as a sponge. It absorbs the mechanical shock, so provides a resistance to the faciocranial bones towards the shock. It adds resonance to the voice. Okay, then it produces bactericidal enzyme lysozyme for defense against the bacterial infections. So these are functions of maxillary which are very important. Developmental anomalies, what will happen if there is complete absence, which is called agenesis, aplasia, hypoplasia, which are altered development or underdevelopment of the maxillary sinus. These occurs either alone or in association with other anomalies. Other anomalies may include the cleft palate, high palate, coanal atresia, septal deformity, absence of a concha, mandibulofacial dystosis, malformation of the external nose, and the pathological conditions of the nasal cavity as a whole. So there are various types of associated anomalies. You can write 2 and 3, and maybe if you write all these, you will get extra marks. The supernumerary maxillary sinus, on the other hand, is the occurrence of two completely separated sinuses on the same site. This condition is most likely initiated by the outpocketing of the nasal mucosa into the primordium of the maxillary body, okay, from 2 points, either in the middle nasal meatus or in the middle and superior or middle and inferior nasal meatus. It can be singular with the middle or the superior, or it can be with the both middle and inferior, middle and superior. Consequently, the result is two permanently separated openings or the ostia of the sinus. The clinical consideration about the clinical considerations, apart from the developmental anomalies resulting in agenesis, aplasia, or hyperplasia, where the sinus is absent or not fully developed, or in the case of supernumerary sinus, where are two separate sinuses, endocrine anomalies also affect the development of sinuses. In the case of origin pituitary gigantism, for example, all sinuses assume an ostial much larger volume than in healthy individuals from the same geographic environment. So, what causes it? The larger volume of sinuses, the origin pituitary gigantism. It is also known that in some congenital infections like congenital syphilis, the sinus pneumatic processes are greatly suppressed, resulting in small maxillary sinuses. So it can be a large, it can be a small due to some external endocrine anomalies. Okay. That's all for the maxillary sinus. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video informative. If you want the PPT, follow the link below. And if you have any doubts or queries about this video, please comment down below or you can DM us in the Insta. We can solve it as soon as possible. Thank you so much.